Hey y'all, welcome back to Mulberry Branch Farm. My name is Ashley and today I have two new additions to the farm to introduce all of you to, and I am waiting for something very patiently to be coming down that driveway. It's gonna change a lot of things for us here on the farm. All right guys, I have two new members of the farm to introduce you to. Some of you know that we lost Elmo, our barn kitty, after like 11 years or something. We lost her last spring and I decided it was finally time for us to get some new barn cats. So we got this sweet little kitty and that sweet little kitty. Joe has named them Armin and Aaron. I let her name the kitties. They're off of characters from Attack on Titan. Yes, and you guys keep in your little collars. They're a little bit too big for you. They're a little too big. A little bit too big, huh? A little too big for you, but you're super sweet. Super sweet. I'm pretty sure this is Aaron, and this less social kitty, who is even still is up here, is Armin. They're super cute. They're still really unsure of Django, and Django's just really happy that there's cat food on the farm now so that he can enjoy cat food with the sweet little kitties. And then I've also got this to show you guys. This was a big blessing. So this came to our farm this week too. It is a 6-wheeler. It's kind of like a little mule, but ATV-like. So I actually grew up, believe it or not, I am 35 years old, guys. The ripe age of 35, and I grew up driving this Polaris 6-wheeler. I remember driving it when I was 14, so it's double decades, you know. It's a little bit on the older side, but my mom and dad decided to get a new one, and they asked if we wanted this one, so I couldn't pass up on it. It was a blessing. It brings back old memories, and I'm super excited because it's got like a cargo area up here. But this piece de la resistance, this is what I'm excited about, because not only does it make hauling deer out of the woods easier, I mean, it makes hauling everything easier. I've actually been putting off cleaning my main run back here in the barn because I don't want to drag the wheelbarrow to my compost pile that's way out yonder against the neighboring fence. So I've been kind of putting it off, and my dad just rolled up with this earlier this week and surprised us with it, and I am super thankful because this will make it so much easier to literally just hop on and pull up right back there. It's actually the right size. I could back it almost all the way up into the doorway and just shovels things out. What's coming will also help me for things like that, but I'm gonna save that because we're really excited. It's been a long time coming to our farm. It's a little bit of an upgrade, but I'll talk about it later. But the big thing that I want to talk about here today, because of these blessings that are coming to our farm, and it's all happened so fast, guys. It's just been one of those weeks where God's really lined things up, and when the door opens, you walk through it. You know, if it's a door you've been waiting on for a while, you walk through that sucker, and you praise and you give thanks the whole time you're doing it. But I think it's really important to talk about how you don't always have to start out with this type of stuff. And you know, I bring that up because I've been noticing a lot, like on social media, a lot of people down with Hollywood homesteads and this, and you know, this is what it has to look like if it's a real homestead. And I don't know, there's just something like that rubs me so wrong hearing that, because homesteading is fluid. There are a million different ways to do one thing in homesteading, and where you homestead, it doesn't make you a bigger or a better homesteader. It's the pursuit of self-sufficiency, and it's the pursuit of freedom from the grocery store and trying to learn those simple forgotten skills that great grandma and grandma had that are just, they're fading so fast. And I mean, who cares if I have a big barn like this, or I clean it up when people come over, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's like when I first started and it was pallet houses and it was tarps and it wasn't pretty and it was whatever we could afford or put together at the moment. I think it's really awful to discredit anybody's journey when it comes to being self-sufficient. I think that all of our homesteads are worth celebrating, because all of them are places where we find peace, we find harmony, we steward land and livestock, we take control of our food security, we do all of those things. So sometimes when I see someone that's like, this is how it should be, let's make this more acceptable. And I'm like, well, when was it not acceptable? When was that not acceptable? I don't understand. And when I actually hear that, it reeks of jealousy, and it reeks of cannibalism within our own niche community. And all I can think is, like, it is a community. Homesteading, even though we're self-sufficient, we rely on one another. We rely on our community to help us with learning new knowledge, to help us with knowing the next steps to take. A community that lifts and supports and just wants you to reach the next level, and to sit there and say, if it looks good, then it probably isn't the right homestead, or it shouldn't be celebrated. Everybody's journey looks different. I didn't start with this big barn. I didn't start with most of what I have here. I didn't start with pretty fencing. We didn't start with a big chicken coop. We didn't start with all of the raised garden beds. We didn't start with a huge in-ground garden. We started with raw land. And I'm blessed that we didn't have to go through the market that a lot of people are going through right now, trying to find open and livable and usable land, because there are differences between land and usable and livable land. There's a lot of different components that come into picking out your property. But when we bought our land, I was 21. I was 8 months pregnant. We were living in a basement. I had a couple chickens that my mother-in-law was wonderful enough to let me have on their property there. We moved here, we got the house. I had saved up a lot from working. My parents had put a little something aside for me for my wedding gift and for when I had kids. And we used that. We only had one, and whatever was left went to build the barn. And then these lean-tos weren't there. They came later. This fence was not here. It came later. We had electric fencing that wasn't ready, that grounded out all the time, and our goats kept getting out on our field, and you can still see some over there. We patched the neighboring fences with ladders, with shelving systems, with just anything that we could find to put over there. You have no idea how much twine is on that fence, and it still keeps goats in. But to sit there and almost say, like, you're not valid if you've worked your way up, or you have something to actually be proud of and that you want to share, I find it gross. I just find it gross. And I don't care if it rubs people the wrong way. If it rubs you the wrong way, then I find that you covet. Coveting is not a good thing. When you covet something that someone else has, you forget about everything that you have. I'm guilty of it. I do it all the time too, because guess what? We're all human. But I'm not about to discount somebody's beautiful homestead in the same fashion that I wouldn't discount going to a homestead where they've got little pallet barns and tarps are all that's keeping the animals. I'm not going to throw stones, and I'm not going to judge. And I would really encourage other people to not judge in that way too. We're all trying to be more self-sufficient. That's the celebratory part of homesteading. If you have a nice barn, good for you. If you're rocking it with the tarps and the pallets and reuse, reduce, recycled stuff, power to you. Everybody's journey is different. Now that I'm done with my little rant, I can hear what I've been waiting for to come home. Hear the truck come down the road, and I'm excited to show you guys this. when you see this in the yard, you know that we definitely harvested honey. I don't want to get too close to these little guys because they get a little, they're busy. They don't look to see if I'm in their way. But we actually harvested around 8 frames off of our beehives. And I just think it's really good practice, and the bees appreciate it too, to put all those frames back out there, because trust me, they do a better job spot cleaning it than yours truly ever could. So we just had some really terrible weather come through. Apparently, we were gone. The inside of our house is trying to blow up on us. We had a sink that wanted to back up this morning, and then we realized it had been backing up for a little bit, and it ruined the bottom board under our sink. But now we've just had, oh no, how in the world? We're coming home after the storm. There's a line down at the end of the road. We couldn't even get in. We stopped to check on our friends. But it does look like we've got trees down. Of course, my goats are already out there trying to clean up. But this is my garden right now. So we actually had a couple of different branches come down in here. But I mean, that wind has just come through and it's pushed all of my corn down. You guys can just see that is just this is a massive tree. Actually, a different part of this said tree came down years ago and almost hit our buck house right here. So it was funny because the other day, one of the branches came down and was in here, and I said, you know, I bet that tree's going to be an issue. And I said that this morning as we were clearing out the branch, and sure enough, it is an issue. So we're just out here looking at all the damage, trying to figure out how it fell. So that part's been down, but you guys can see, like, just from here just fell over. That's all that's left of that tree, and this part of the tree is leaning out and away from our property, so I don't really mind too much of that. Ooh, we've got some mushrooms over here to see what they are for foraging purposes. But you guys can see, like, yeah, it just completely came down, and it took this fence line right here. So I don't know, it's a lot of work. Which we were just saying, like, oh, when we saw how bad the wind was, because we were actually at Menards and the storm came through, and it really wasn't that bad where we were at, but apparently it's pretty bad here. Got a branch right here. Just surprised the bucks aren't out trying to clean that up, but I'm actually going to take that off the fence so we don't have any type of pressure there. I'm actually going to go out and check the field because I can see my girls out there right now. Girls are already, come on guys, come on. So the girls are already out here cleaning this up, but I want to make sure that there's not further damage where they're just walking through fenced off areas. And just from, like, looking here, I don't think so, but I could be wrong. So we're just doing a fence line check. Really, anybody that's running fence lines after it's stormed like this, it's a good idea to walk them, make sure they're intact, and that your animals are right where they're supposed to be. Got the best cleanup crew around, and it looks like that branch is, like, not on the fence at all, so I'll leave it alone. Looks like we have other things down over here, which, of course, like I said, goats are probably the best cleanup crew you'll ever have. Haley and Margie, who is due any day now for her first set of babies, even though she doesn't look it. She's really long bodied, so she's hiding them pretty good. But these guys are out here. Looks like they've already stripped this one. They're wonderful cleanup crews. Oops. You guys enjoying the cleanup? You cleaning it all up? Wants to clear up and act like nothing happened, but it does look like over yonder we've got some work to do, which is fine. I mean, it didn't fall on a majority of my corn. I'll just count myself lucky in that way, because as soon as we pulled up, I was like, oh no, we're not gonna get any corn this year. and walked over and was like, oh, okay, it's fine. So just gonna kind of roll with the punches. Storm's feeding my goats their treats. They're enjoying it. I can tell my little babies are still inside. They're probably like, we're not coming out. That was scary. So just count our lucky stars and say we're doing good. The wind did a number though. Blew a lot of the corn in all kinds of weird directions. Well, Mark! Did you think better of it, huh, Kiki? Did you think better of it? He's alive and playing. To be very, very still. It's a groundhog.